Newshour Special Edition.
Welcome back on the Newshour Special Edition, viewers. We bring to your notice a very important update. It's been over 45 days since rampant violence struck Leicester and Birmingham in the United Kingdom. We showed you how Hindus living in the United Kingdom were targeted, threatened, attacked and abused, and then blamed for it too. They were called piss drinkers, cow shit, dogs, neo-Nazis, fascists and much worse. All this even as they haplessly witnessed their religious symbols being desecrated. Now, this is what happened back then. Today, the first report into the cause of the clashes is out, and it has found no evidence of any Hindutva or RSS extremism. Instead, the report by the Henry Jackson Society, a UK-based think tank, has concluded that a group of social media influencers, some with links to terrorism, peddled this fake narrative to stir up tensions and instigate the violence. The report said that a fake narrative of RSS terrorists being behind the unrest was peddled by social media influencers to rally Muslims from across the United Kingdom to attend these protests. And the unrest was falsely presented as an issue of organized Hindutva extremism and terrorism. This organized propaganda led to Hindu cars and properties being attacked and Hindu businesses being boycotted. Hear it from Charlotte Littlewood herself, the one who has penned this 39-page report.
The general claims of Hindutva was something that we could look at whether or not there's any prescribed Hindu organisations in the UK. We could look at whether there are organisations in the UK that there's been any criticisms of links to Hindutva or RSS. And these were the kind of lines of interrogation we could go down. And that we found overwhelmingly that there was no evidence that this was impacting and driving the activity in Leicester on the ground. So you can see the police coming out with statements. They came out with a lot of very useful statements around misinformation at the time, because the misinformation campaign against the Hindu community was a part of the drive against the Hindu community across the UK. So they came out and they made statements to say that there had been no kidnapping, that there had been no attack on a mosque. See, the mainstream media take this as an opportunity to discuss politics in the subcontinent rather than to look at what was really happening on the ground in Leicester. And that was really difficult, dangerous, in fact, for the Hindu community. The reasons behind which they did this are unclear.
So yes, you heard it from Charlotte itself. This is the toolkit deployed by malicious forces to malign Hindus that, combined with a biased media coverage, influenced perceptions. Let's remind you how the mayor of Leicester, even when a police probe is on, was quick to reach conclusions and imply that Hindutva forces could have a hand in the violence.
A lot of things emerged on the night that have their roots in the Indian subcontinent.
What kind of things emerged?
I think ideologies that are associated with views about the particular racial and religious groups in India and the way in which people perhaps here in the UK identify with those groups.
Are you talking about the Hindutva ideology?
Yes, I think that's certainly one that's, I think, a part of it.
Well, one would think that at least now those who portrayed the victims of hate as perpetrators would do a rethink. But still, there are elements in India who refuse to see the naked truth and want to fall for what has been branded naked propaganda.
The social media influencer of the particular community were trying to project Hindus as if they are trying to create unrest in UK. Fact is that Hindu can never be violent. As per Hinduism, no violence has not been preached, whereas in other religion violence has been preached. So that's the difference.
इसमें जो राइट विंग, फार राइट विंग दक्षिणपंथी समूह हैं हिंदुत्वा के, पहले ये भारत में दंगे करते थे। अब भारत को छोड़ अपनी दशा पे, बदहाली पर और बुरे वक्त में ये तो लंदन में बस गए। वहां पे भी हिंदुत्व का प्रचार प्रसार करके लंदन के कल्चर को, लंदन के पूरे माहौल को घिनौना करने का काम दक्षिणपंथी पूरी दुनिया में करते रहे।
Let's open this up. We have Wasik, counter-extremism analyst, joining us from London in United Kingdom. We also have Jigar Bhagalia, who's lifetime member of Durga Bhavan and also an eyewitness with regards to what happened in the month of September. Also with us is political analyst Majid Hyderi. Now, let me quickly open this up and begin by asking Wasik this. Mr. Wasik, given what had happened in the month of September, there were several reports that were doing the rounds. Shortly thereafter, the reaction that we just put out of the Leicester mayor actually giving in to the likes of Majid Freeman. Now, he's one of those people who the Leicester police itself called out for peddling fake news, fake narratives on social media, because these people do have a certain following on social media. Now it's coming to light via this very research carried out by a UK think tank that there was nothing such as an RSS extremism or a Hindutva extremism, and all of this was just cooked up and nothing else.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the Mayor of Leicester, he was clearly quick off the mark to make claims. Now, either he was influenced by individuals who were accused of inflaming tensions, or he was coming from it from a base of no evidence. Now, it's quite clear that the Henry Jackson report is the first significant exploration into the violence that ensued in Leicester. It's quite clear what it found, that social media influencers sought to exploit minor tensions between young Muslim and Hindu men. Evidence of extreme Hindu nationalism was found to be tenuous. It seems that being patriotic to India is now being framed as Hindu nationalism, and that's clearly not the case, because if that was, then where would that leave Indian Muslims or Indian Christians who are also nationalistic and just want to support their home teams? And also mainstream media outlets either failed to do their due diligence or actively gave platforms to figures accused of inflaming these tensions. And again, this goes back to the mayor, who seems to be quite cozy with some of these individuals who are accused of inflaming those tensions. So I think in regards to those claims, the false claims of, a BJP presence or a Hindutva presence or an extreme Hindutva presence is quite tenuous. What seems to have happened is quite well documented in the report, and I think in terms of the Mayor of Leicester, he needs to really read that report and perhaps apply some introspection when it comes to the inquiry that the Leicester Council are going to be conducting soon.
Okay, a very important point highlighted by you, Mr. Wasik, that even UK mainstream media, some of them did not carry out proper investigations, they do not follow due diligence, and they in a way gave all of these so-called influencers the platform to go ahead with their fake narratives. Let me go across to Anirban Banerjee, who's also with us on this broadcast. He's just joined us here on the special edition. Mr. Banerjee, Anirban, if you just heard what Mr. Wasik said, despite the kind of evidence that has come to light, despite the several videos that we here on Times Now have also broken repeatedly, one after the other, wherein you can see what that amounted to. There was vandalism that could be seen, flags were being burnt, cars set on fire, what not was going on. And there you have it, a UK think tank, a research that they've carried out, which goes on to highlight that none of this had actually happened. Those who were saying that this is, an extremist ideology at play, the Hindutva forces are at play here, all of that is true. It's actually not based on any solid evidence. Anirban. Okay, seem to have lost that line. If I could take that to Majid Hyderi. Majid Hyderi, the same question goes to you. So on what basis are people sitting here in India saying that these are the same forces who wanted to disturb the peaceful atmosphere of our country and now have started settling in the United Kingdom and are doing the same thing, carrying out the same agenda in the United Kingdom? On what basis?
Well, madam, firstly, this report by the think tank is neither written on it's neither a legal document nor written on judicial paper, and I would request this worthy think tank to come to Kashmir or to India and see what actually Hindutva means, how they incite to violence, how they were behind the Jahangir Puri incident, how they have been into polarization of the communal identities in the country. So, firstly, they'll have to come to India and research on what Hindutva
Majid Hyderi, did you just talk about Kashmir? Was Kashmir one of your opening remarks? And you're talking about Hindutva extremism vis-a-vis Kashmir.
No, it was a slip of tongue of Kashmir. I wanted them to come to India and get to know what actually Hindutva means and what their sinister designs are, how they conspire for religious conspiracies, and how they polarize the nation.
No, but you should talk about Kashmir, Majid Hyderi. Why was it a slip of tongue? Why not talk about Kashmir?
No, what has Kashmir to do with this particular issue?
So what does any politician, for example, Amike Jamai, who's a Samajwadi spokesperson, what does he have to do with what's happening in the United Kingdom? Why is he reaching all of those conclusions that have not even been proven yet on paper? The police have been carrying out investigations, but there are media outlets in the United Kingdom falling prey to everything that is being peddled by social media influencers.
No, firstly,
and you have people in India giving into that plot.
No, madam, firstly, I beg to say that worthy panelist from United Kingdom has tried to criticize the mayor of Leicester. A mayor in United Kingdom enjoys the status of city father, and his words are gospel truth. You cannot speak against the mayor. So let the fellow panelists first apologize for having spoken against the city father and the gospel truth.
You know, it's very interesting, Majid Hyderi, that you're being able to put your focus on the Leicester mayor, but you're completely sidelining the man in question, the man who he is having a conversation with. We just played out that chat. He's Majid Freeman. And if you want me to once again put out the tweets that he put out back then in the month of September, I can do that as well. How he tried to create a lot of nuisance on social media, which, by the way, was not called out by anyone from India. It was called out by people from Leicester, and the police, the Leicester police had called out the fake news peddled by him. And that's the claim that the Leicester mayor has given into. Why should the fellow panelists not question it?
Madam, if any mayor speaks in United Kingdom, we have to accept and admire his words, because that is supposed to be the gospel truth. Because
sir, you know, going by that logic, in a country like India, you should also respect what the Prime Minister says. But that certainly is not how democratic nations work. No, and so we must not follow that logic. It's really not making sense. I want Mr. Jigar Bagalia to come in. Mr. Jigar Bagalia, if you could just put this in perspective for our viewers and for Majid Hyderi, because he's saying that the Leicester mayor should not be questioned here. He is the ultimate authority to have gone ahead with any sort of statement that he feels to.
Yeah, namaste to everyone. I would first begin by saying that Satyamev Jayate, that the truth has prevailed. So basically, the UK think tank has already published a report, and as you mentioned, I know my panelists are laughing, but let me just complete, sir. Because if you are taking a politician's word as a gospel truth, you have to understand that at the end of the day, he was a politician, and before the report was even out, he made the comments. I don't know why he in such a hurry. But if anybody has read the report out in the panelists, you can see on page number 10, they have clearly mentioned that no links with RSS or HSS. Page number 5, the academic Walter Anderson, he has clearly stated that RSS isn't a proscribed terrorist organization in the UK. Page number 33, they have clearly said that many residents in LE5 postcode of Leicester area have removed their Hindu symbols. This clearly states, and my panelist even mentioned about Kashmir, this clearly states that this is the hatred against Hindutva and Hindus. All this is a propaganda, and the fake narrative was just a clear symbol of Hindu hatred. Okay. And that is what needs to stop.
Okay. Anirban Banerjee, how do you say that this was not Hindu hatred? Why was a false picture, an attempt made to paint this false narrative without any proof, without any evidence? That's what the HJS has now concluded. Charlotte Littlewood writes that there's no evidence or proof to spreading this narrative of Hindutva extremism at play here. Nothing to substantiate it.
Okay, so first of all, it's really funny that even in the overseas countries, RSS is being considered as terrorist organization, at least an ideology that is linked with extremism. That is one point. And the
so is Hindutva. If we go by the allegations and what was discussed in that conversation we just played between Majid Freeman and the Leicester lair, so is Hindutva.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Hindutva ideology is a political ideology. It's a fascist ideology. And if someone wants to brand it as an extremist ideology, well, very well, they can do that. Even this think tank whoever that is, whichever that is, they are labeling this ideology of the RSS BJP as an extreme ideology. And that is something which is bordering on the lines of terrorism. Therefore, I don't think this is a very good report for the RSS people to harp on and say that we are innocent. Because you people are being considered as terrorists by this think tank that you are putting forth. Anyway,
sir, it is, one second, Anirban Banerjee, I think you're completely losing track of, what we're trying to talk about. And I want Mr. Vasik to come in and put this in perspective for you, because he's also a person who has himself called out many such social media influencers who were trying to go ahead with this narrative. Mr. Vasik, if you could just put this report in perspective, it does not say that this think tank believes that RSS is an extremist or a terrorist organization. They just said that the fake narrative of RSS terrorists behind unrest in United Kingdom. So they've called this entire idea fake. They are not referring to RSS as terrorists.
They are calling the RSS a terrorist organization here.
They are referring to the allegations, the allegations that have been leveled against the RSS, the Hindutva forces in the United Kingdom.
Please read page number 5 of the report. Please read page number 5 of the report and you will get the clarification.
Mr. Vasik.
Yes, okay. So
Anirban, hold on. Let him come with a response. Hold on. Mr. Vasik.
Yeah, okay. So in terms of, well, let's just separate some of these things out. So Hindutva ideology, there may be some extremism within it, there may not be. That hasn't been interrogated. The fact of the matter is that the government have not concluded that that is the case, and that's something that we need to be looking at. Since prevent our counter-terrorism policy has been in place. So I think some of you political analysts are slightly out their depth when they're talking about UK counter-terrorism policy over here. In terms of RSS being a terrorist organization, again, the UK has not prescribed it as a terrorist organization. So if you're going to posit that it is a terrorist organization and it falls within the threshold of that, you need to be placing it within the framework of the UK and not trying to apply other frameworks or your own personal opinions, because quite frankly, that just makes you look a bit silly, to be honest. So if you're going to talk about some of these things, at least come with some evidence so we can then interrogate that evidence and then we can come to the real truth. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's the case. There is a report out there. If you've got something against that report, then why don't you actually rebuke that report, come up with your own rebuttal with it. If you don't have anything like that, then I'm not entirely sure what we're doing here.
To put it out there for everyone to see, there's no evidence that has been put out that suggests that there were Hindu forces behind the violence and the riot-like situation that played out in Leicester and in Birmingham. And as far as this report goes, it goes on to say, one of the influencers led Muslim patrol in Leicester. They called on Muslims to defend them against Hindu fascism. Then another spread fake news that Hindus kidnapped a Muslim girl. So they are talking about these instances that have been called out by the Leicester police as well. It's not an independent research think tank that is just going ahead with this narrative and dreaming about this narrative. These fake news attempts have been called out by the Leicester police also. You wanted to come in, Anirban?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. My point was that from when has the responsibility of investigation into any incident has been taken up by think tanks in the UK? Is it the police who is supposed to investigate? Is it not the mayor or anybody from the government who is supposed to come out and give any statements? Till now, has any government official absolved the Hindutva fascists who are active in the UK from this violence or riot or crime, whatever it is? Till now, no government official from the UK, I have heard any of them say that no, the RSS BJP or the Hindutva fascist ideology has no link with the Leicester violence. Nobody has said. On the contrary, the mayor of the Leicester city, as one of my panelists was saying, had referred to the Hindutva fascist ideology to be behind this instigation.
No, but why are we
and
not calling out the problem here? If fake news led to situation go out of hand to an extent that just properties belonging to one particular community, their places of worship, etc., were coming under direct attack, then why is it not being called out? Why is an attempt being made to give cover fire to what's happened and everything that's gone wrong?
So you are telling me that the Leicester mayor is working for the Islamist forces or these fake news spreaders, and he is against the Hindu community. Is that what you are saying? If that is the case,
I am saying that the Leicester mayor could be seen in conversation with Majid Freeman. Now, if you want to know about Majid Freeman, I can bring in Mr. Jigar as well. But here's a man who has peddled enough fake news, as has been called out by the police. And that has, of course, led to the situation go out of hand. And instead of calling out those forces, what is happening here is that all of whom were actually victims in this very episode have been called perpetrators. So it's extremely problematic. And I'm not saying this. It's been called out by this UK think tank. And by the way, there has been no evidence to substantiate otherwise. I'm going to have to leave it at that. I'm afraid I'm running out of time. It's going to be our top focus tomorrow as well. And we'll come back to this. But for the moment, thank you for joining us, gentlemen, on this special edition, the Newshour special edition. And with regard